WWE's paying people right now to sit at a desk in Stamford, Connecticut and watch AEW as part of their freaking jobs. There are AEW action figures allegedly sitting on desks inside WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. Now think about that. The company that has told us over and over in the past couple of years that AEW is in a competition is running a full-blown intelligence operation apparently on them. And the IWC, of course, knew something was off for a few years. And they speculate and speculate as IWC does. And when this came out and it got confirmed, now it's out in the open. And the story goes way deeper than one report. So let's get to it. Welcome to the T-Drop Strong Brew, No Soft Behavior. Let me set the scene for you guys. March 5th, 2026, AEW Revolution goes down. A great show, decent card, and a little too crazy Texas Deathmatch, but that's a Texas Deathmatch, guys. We gotta get used to that, how crazy it went. But overall, decent show, as typical AEW fashion when it comes to pay-per-views. But what's important is what happened the day after. On March 16th, this past Monday, someone asked WrestleVotes during a Fightful stream a simple question.
Mateus coming to us here. How much buzz does AEW have having a big pay-per-view like last night at Raw backstage the next day?
Great question.
Do talent openly talk about it, or do they feel the need to be more hush?
No, it's a great question, Chris, and I can tell you that they talk about it because, believe it or not, these guys are friends. They have friends on.
So he's talking about wrestlers from WWE that are friends with AEW that they usually have conversations together. In general, they're friends. They meet up, they hang out, they talk to each other online, I guess, or whatever. And obviously, sometimes things come up about work or wrestling. So obviously, they're talking about each other in the product.
The other team, they all have worked together at some point, really. So yeah, of course, when you see something like what went down last night between those, I want to say the opening and the closing again, those two wild matches, of course, a wrestler will talk about it with another wrestler. FTR came up with a lot of the guys who are on Monday Night Raw now in the same group. They're very close with Bayley. So to think Bayley's not going to talk about a heck of a tag team match that the whole world saw last night just because it's from a different company is not.
Bayley and FTR are great friends. Bayley and Mercedes Moné are obviously the greatest of friends. So of course, things happen. They are going to talk to each other and say, great match, so on. Bayley even congratulated Charlie, aka Dakota Kai, when they did the women's pay-per-view in Europe a few weeks ago. Dakota Kai's welcoming back and praised her for doing such a good job. So of course this tend to happen.
It's just not right. They talk about it. I've heard them talk about it.
Yeah, of course.
I know that there's people in Stanford.
Yes.
AEW action figures on their desks.
On their desks. It's
On
all
their desks.
wrestling. Yes.
People's jobs is to watch AEW programming and report into analytics and different departments on what's going on.
That is a fact.
That is a fact. You heard him right. Let's rewind it a bit. What did he say? Did he say that's a fact? I think he did.
Analytics and different departments on what's going on.
That is a fact.
In AEW.
But that is a fact. So now you have confirmation from Fightful, WrestleVotes, TC, that it is a fact that WWE has a department, whether it's one person, 20 people, or 3 people, it doesn't matter. They have someone or a group of people dedicated to just watching the content as a job. I think that's an amazing job, in my personal opinion. If I can have that job and get paid to do it, by all means, sign me up. You guys choose your moralities, but if you're making me just watch and give you information, sure. Why not? But let's continue.
It's not like
nothing crazy. I don't know why some people went crazy about this whole spy situation. This isn't really spying, in my opinion. This is just them watching the competition, seeing the competition. What do they have to compete with? It is something I need to be worried about. Do I need to tell Triple H and Nick Khan we need to step up because AEW just did something amazing? How can we do better for the next pay-per-view, which is obviously WrestleMania? They obviously needed to check Revolution out and are probably going to check out what TNA has in next week because they have to come right after them for WrestleMania. Can they step up? Can they go over? So obviously they're going to be watching. I think it's normal business. Some people freaked out about it, but let's continue.
Something that was good. Doesn't matter the brand, doesn't matter the logo, it was a good wrestling show.
We also have to keep in mind that these people also could text each other. So sometimes say, yo, are you watching this?
Yeah.
You have a VPN, you got the whatever it might be.
Well, you need a VPN.
And they probably could text about it.
You know,
if you don't want to talk about it at your place of work, you can text with your buddy and your friends and do that before you even get to work the next day.
I'm not sure CM Punk is backstage right now talking about it, but you know, you can pick and choose. I mean, guys like Danhausen, who spent years there, Royce Keys, still has a lot of friends there.
There's a lot of people, there's a lot of transitional people right now that went from AEW to WWE.
Topic. Yes.
Yeah, but again, I think with any subject, any topic, you pick and choose who you talk in front of and what you say and things like that.
Exactly.
You know, I don't think it's like a big like.
No, they're not meeting over what went down last night at decrypto.com, but you can say
they're not, but there are reports written. They're only going to meet if it's something that they need to meet.
Something without getting in the hot water. Jaden,
people went crazy over this interview to the point that this WrestleBoats interview got unlisted got unlisted. So yes, of course, chat, it would be silly if they didn't watch it, if they weren't watching their competition. And yes, August Virgo, there is no way WWE was not watching other promotions the entire time. Perhaps they've taken special attention to AEW due to its popularity. Yes, of course. But I think what people are reacting to is the fact that WWE said in the past they were never really a competition. I think even Triple H said, we don't watch people that we don't find as a competition. So why waste staff time, staff money on having someone watch it? So I think that's the issue at hand, not the fact that they're watching it. I thought it was obvious too. But anyway, now, like you saw in the video, you would expect a non-answer that everyone watches everyone response, the corporate shrug. But again, according to WrestleBoats, they confirmed and expanded by Sean Ross Sapp at Fightful Select. And I quote, I'll quote it again. I know there are people in Stamford with AEW action figures on their desks. Some people's job is to watch AEW programming and report into analytics and different departments about what's going on in AEW. That is a fact. It's not a hush-hush thing. So obviously, again, read it again. They use it for reports into analytics and different departments. This isn't a guy casually flipping on Dynamite after work. This is them just figuring out their structured system. There's someone on someone who does multiple reports about AEW's content directly into WWE's analytical machine, whatever that is. I guess that's how you'll probably find their job description if they ever change or they need more staff. But anyway, now WrestleBoats didn't stop there. They added this, and this is the part that all the people in IWC have been sleeping on. FTR came up with a lot of current Raw guys and that they're close with people like Bailey. They talk and what went down at Revolution. Of course, those conversations, as we discuss, happens. They're friends. They're past coworkers. I talk to past coworkers all the time. My wife talks to past coworkers all the time. We talk about what's going on. As long as you're not revealing, I guess, the hush-hush stuff that you shouldn't be revealing, it's all fine. It sounds like, to me, FTR and Bailey talk after the fact those things happen, not before. Like, hey, by the way, Ronda Rousey's showing up tonight, blah, blah, blah. You didn't hear from me. I think they talk after the fact that it happens. So, and again, it's not just corporate staff. The locker room connections are active intelligent channels too, apparently. Talent who work both sides, talking, sharing it. It all flows upward. What Culture Online, Sun News Co., Cultaholics, Sportkita, they all ran this story within 24 hours of appearing it. So by March 17, it was everywhere. And it became no longer a rumor that everyone thought it was over the years. It's something now they have actual receipts, at least from one source opening their mouth. But here's what I need you to understand. This isn't new behavior. WWE has been doing some versions of this for years. And there's some proof out there. So let me take you back because this story has some history, and it starts with one of the most slept on wrestling spy stories of the last decade. AEW is on a roll. Dynamite is building steam. And Chris Jericho on his podcast drops a bomb. He calls out what he refers to as an NXT reject who have been working AEW dark matches. Someone, he claimed, who was leaking internal information about AEW events. including a spoiler about Eric Bischoff's surprise appearance on Dynamite. Back to outside parties out there. So, according to Ringside News, Jericho was explicit the person has been used as a spy, and AEW wasn't playing around. Now, I actually have that clip. I was able to luckily find the clip that Chris Jericho said about it. So I can rewind it. Give me a sec. Let me pull it up. Boom, boom, boom. Hello, Chris Jericho. So let's hear from Chris Jericho's mouth himself talking about the NXT spy.
And we know what the spy is, by the way. Oh, we know. He'll never fucking be back in AEW.
He will never be back. Apparently he was in AEW and he got kicked out as soon as they found out he was leaking stuff. Oops, sorry. Why is it muted? Sorry.
So print that. NXT reject was a spy. So print that. I was like, listen, we can announce this or we can just not announce it and don't worry about it and see, the people that know will know and maybe they'll watch if they weren't going to. And the people that don't know will still be surprised. And that's exactly what happened. People were super surprised that Bischoff was there.
Yep. And that's pretty much what happened. They were still surprised. Some people were still surprised. And Chef Maku says it best. And welcome, Chef Maku. Remember, Mick Foley was going to win the world title. And that helped WCW, huh? That is true. WCW, because at that time, some segments of Raw were pre-recorded. Some of the episodes they used to not do all live. They knew for a fact because someone was at the event spying on WWE. They found out that Mick Foley was going to win. And they announced it because WCW was dirty like that. They used to say before one of their net segment, Eric Bischoff will read out all the results of Raw so people don't have to tune in. He will say, this happened, so there you go. You don't have to tune in. Come continue watching CW Nitro. So the moment he said that, thinking it will work like it used to do back in the day, everyone's like, what? Because everyone, I guess, were either in love on the Mick Foley Mankind character or were shocked that that was actually going to happen, that they had to see it themselves. So everyone tuned into that. And they watched the show. Raw got a big spurge of viewers, and that's it. The rest is history. It didn't help WCW, obviously, and the Monday Night Wars shifted since then. And then everyone in WWE went full throttle with the Attitude Era, and that's it. It ends. The fact that, WWE doesn't know their own history is kind of scary. Or maybe they don't care, or they don't think these guys are a threat. But you got to be careful. History can repeat itself. But anyway, What Culture and Wrestle Talk both reported that AEW, like we talked about and how Jericho stated, formally banned this individual from their events. The ban was swift, the message was clear. So who was it, you may ask? Who was it? Fightful Select, according to their reports, named the individual as Tino Sabbatelli. Former NXT talent, had been working for AEW Dark independent of his WWE status, and after the ban he went right back to WWE. Apparently denied it. He went on record. You can watch it right here. He actually went on Chris Van Vliet back on May 3rd 2022. So let's take a look.
To go be that star in AEW. Is the door still open there?
It's funny you bring that up, and here's the thing. I don't know what happened or where it went wrong, and this is the truth of everything.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing saying that guy. I'm sorry, he's a nobody.
Damn!
Way to go, Chef Maku. Hi, Rudy. How you doing, man? Welcome in. We're just going over WWE Spies. Here's one of them. Apparently, according to Chef Maku, a nobody. Oops. I don't like watching videos on Facebook because when I play it and stop and play it again, it mutes itself. So I have to rewind it. So I apologize.
And I don't know how, because that bridge was burnt. And I don't know how, because Tony Khan, who's known me from football, obviously his dad owns the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
He knows me from the NFL days. I've met with him even when I was in NXT. I saw him when I went to AEW. And when Triple H and WWE offered me a contract, I actually texted Billy Gunn about it, and they didn't put anything on paper. They didn't offer me nothing. So it wasn't like I took their offer, threw it to the side, and went back to WWE. Triple H was the first one to throw a number at me, throw an opportunity. I mean, I wanted to go back to where I got my first opportunity, right?
Yeah, sure.
So I went back, didn't think anything of it. I actually sent a very, very nice text to Billy Gunn.
Okay.
thanking him for the opportunity, thanking him to get me in the door. I told him I was signing back with WWE. He congratulated me. Everything I thought was good. Well, the funny thing is that the day I got released again, I had somebody reach out to AEW, Tony Khan personally, and said, hey, you know, Tino's a free agent and this kid's can be a star. And he said to him,
I don't know who told him he's a star, because apparently he's a nobody. Who was it? This is the guy that dates Mandy Rose? That's him? Is Mandy Rose's husband or significant other? He's the one that shows up in the podcast? He does that? That does look familiar. Thank you, Big Rudy, for pointing that out.
paraphrasing a little bit because he wouldn't really tell me, but basically Tony was upset that I went back to WWE. And I
Okay.
thought,
I mean,
I
fair.
didn't even believe it the first time I heard it, right? I didn't believe it. And about 3 months ago, Andrade approached me, and he says he wants me to be in a group with him. Me and Andrade have always had a tremendous relationship. I think he's one of the best workers I've ever seen in the ring by far. He texted me personally, and we actually shot a vignette.
Why? Andrade is probably like, was this around the time Andrade was about to leave too? Yes, it is Mandy Rose. Partner, so they're not married? Oh, okay. To all the people out there, guess what? They're just partners. And apparently he's a nobody. If you become somebody, you can be with Mandy Rose. You might be better.
Group. We wanted to bring back a group like, like the Ric Flair, Randy Orton, Triple H days. He wanted to bring back that group.
Evolution? How can someone who wants to be involved in wrestling not know one of the biggest groups in WWE? How can you not know about Evolution? What the Yeah, he is a nobody. He ain't no Evolution. He doesn't know Evolution. Of course he's nobody. What the I'm already frustrated. He didn't know basic things. And people give shit to women that are trying to get into wrestling by quizzing them. Quiz this punk. He didn't even know about Evolution. What a punk.
Evolution, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
So we shot the video. Evolution, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Evolution.
Chris knows.
So we shot the video. We spent the whole day in Miami together. We had a nice.
Triple H, give Chris an interview because at least he corrected Tony over here.
Nice cars. We did a whole video. This is where I heard it the second time. Now I know it's true because I didn't think it was true. He texts me back and he says, Tony Khan loves the idea, loves everything about it, but he kept saying, no Tino, no Savage.
Nope.
And I'm like, what do you mean no Tino, no Savage? He goes, he wouldn't tell me. Would not tell me. He goes, let's just find somebody else. And I thought that was weird because I would love to sit and talk to Tony personally because I don't know if there was a disconnect between me and him.
Is he getting
if somebody
to the point?
told him something that they didn't tell me. But I think he might have got upset that I went there, did one match, and then signed back with WWE, which I had intent. I just wanted to wrestle. I just wanted an opportunity, right?
You don't
so
know
when AEW
Evolution.
called me, I just wanted an opportunity.
Yeah, and
So
then,
I
and then
thought
I'm
that was
sure
a little
you saw it,
strange.
but then the story came out, then your name got attached to about leaking storylines from AEW.
Man, Chris, let me tell you something.
What?
Tell you something.
He's going to tell us something finally. YouTube.
Anybody knows me. First of all, I don't even know where to begin with it. I don't even. First of all, I'm like internet kind of a dummy. I don't even know what
He's
a
a
dirt
dummy.
sheet is.
He's a dummy,
I don't
guys.
even know.
He acknowledged it.
I don't even-
He acknowledged he's a freaking dummy because he doesn't know anything. I know. I couldn't find acknowledge me. Where's acknowledge me, guys?
Acknowledge me.
There you go. He acknowledged he was a dummy. Anyway, sorry.
I don't go on Instagram. I don't go on internet. I don't go at any of those things. I'm not even one of those people to even talk about that. So I heard the rumor came out. So I was getting like tagged and stuff. And I was like, whatever, not pay attention to it.
Okay.
So somebody approached me and said, yo, you hear what Chris Jericho said about you? I said, what? I said, I don't know. What was the quote? Do you remember the quote? Because there's something like,
Yeah,
he
it
said
was
an
like
NXT reject.
Yeah, that someone was leaking storylines, and the quote is that Jericho says it was an NXT reject.
Yes.
I love when stories connect. All right, let me make sure I get this audio working.
I ignored it. Like I was like, you know what? I'm not even getting involved in this. Like I didn't even know where this is coming from. So then people started bringing it up.
But why wouldn't you defend yourself if it's not true? Why are you not going to get into it? I know Chris Jericho is a big person, big wrestling personality, but if you take him to the side, and I'm sure if you talk to him and like, hey, Chris, it wasn't me, bro. I'm sure Chris would believe you. Unless you have something to hide, right? Am I wrong, chat? Like, if you were truly not the one, then why not go tell him what your story is? Instead, you say, no, I'm just going to ignore that noise. Okay, fine.
So I'm like, what is this dude talking about? So then I read it says something like that somebody leaked that there was like a Hall of Famer or like a legend at AEW, like some name or something like that. And I might sound stupid saying this, but like, I probably would have walked right by him and not even noticed something, to be honest with you. But for me to go to the internet and speak on something I know nothing about, and I'm no disrespect, I don't care that much, bro. Like,
You don't?
I'm not that dude. Like,
You're not.
that was so mind blowing. And actually, when Impact called me, we thought Impact called Terry Taylor and asked him about that. And Terry called me. I said, Coach, I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, I don't even know what a dirt sheet is. Like, this is.
Okay. You don't know what a dirt sheet is. Cool. Maybe there should be part of wrestling school. When you go to wrestling school, a 101 on history of wrestling, maybe some history slang, so you don't look like a dumbass when you do these interviews. Like, come on, man. What did Mandy Rose see in this guy? Yes, Mandy Rose is making all the money through OnlyFans. Because I don't know what he's making right now. Walk past Chris Jericho and not notice him. How? I don't know how you not notice someone. The Red Rooster. Let me rewind. I'm going to play this. What? All new wrestlers need to talk to us. We'll help them out. Yes, new wrestlers. You can join us here at the T-Drop. We will definitely help you on some 101. I know smarter people than me that can teach you all the history, but definitely there's a lot of people in the wrestling schools that can teach you history. All these, I'm pretty sure in any promotion, small or big, they have knowledgeable people about the history of wrestling. Will it be a little one-sided depending where you go? Probably. If it's WCW teachers, maybe they'll talk better about WCW than WWE, but hey, at least learn. At least learn the slangs, man. Anyway, let's continue with this guy.
To know what he's talking about. Like, I don't even know what a dirt sheet is. Like, this is nonsense. So I never got to the bottom of it. Supposedly my name was involved because there was a couple NXT guys there the same week or month I was there.
Okay.
But
who are
I
they?
can tell you from a God honest truth, man. I don't even know what I would type in to put on dirt. Like, I don't even know how I would do it.
You don't know how to use a keyboard.
Where do I even go?
Do you have a smartphone?
So for me, that was mind-blowing. Maybe that's what Tony Khan doesn't like me on. I don't know. That could be it too.
Anyway, Tino denied it. He went on record. You can watch the Chris Van Vliet show further if you want, but that's pretty much the main clip. And he, like I said, he denied anything regarding that. But here's what the IWC noticed when they watched that interview. Obviously, as you guys saw watching with me, his body language, the pauses, the way he reacted, some of the stuff he was saying just seemed off. So you got to take his statement as a grain of salt. Now, if is Chris ever gonna tell who is this NXT reject? Because he has never stated a name. He just stated it was an NXT reject. We might never know. And there were other people. Why hasn't this guy, Tino, named the other NXT people? And obviously, if he knows other NXT people are there, so does Tony, so does Chris, so the VPs. They all know that. So why is Tony and Chris, or mainly Tony, because of how he's reacted to him wanting to be not involved in Andrade's storyline? Because Andrade is another NXT. He's not a reject. He's more like a WWE reject, but he was in NXT. Why Tony specifically said Tony? That says a lot right there. Anyway, 2 years later in 2022, Fightful revisited this. Tito addressed the rumors again, but by that point, the damage was done. The story had already written itself in the IWC's mind. Sportster did a full retrospective on the accusations and the fallout, and you guys can definitely check it out online. But here's the thing. Even if you give every benefit of the doubt, and maybe he deserves it, the pattern was already established. Talent crossing over, information flowing, WWE paying attention to AEW in ways that went beyond casual viewing. And then we found out it went even further up the chain, because the next story isn't about a mid-card guide on AEW Dark, it's about the CEO of the company personally making a phone call. Early 2020 is still under WWE contract. AEW has launched, and Vince McMahon, the chairman, the boss, the guy who built the empire of WWE, picks up the phone and calls Daniel Bryan, allegedly. Not obviously to do a booking, but to ask him one question. Is AEW doing anything better than we are? According to a few news outlets, including Post Wrestling and F4W Online, Bryan confirmed this himself in February 2023. Vince asked him to watch AEW, to actually study the product and report back to him. And what did Bryan Danielson tell him? The WWE, and he quotes, feels like you're watching a wrestling show without any wrestling. Think about the business implication at the moment. The CEO of a publicly traded billion-dollar company is calling his own talent to get an honest assessment of the competition. Even though around that same time, some of them were saying they weren't really the competition. Yet we have Vince McMahon looking at stuff because the internal reports aren't telling him what he needs to know. Now, that's him not being arrogant. I think at this point, it's just him being afraid with all the due diligence that was happening. Now, 4011 Mania Online framed it perfectly. Vince wanted to know what AEW was doing right. And he wasn't dismissing it. He's trying to learn from it to better his product, which, fair enough. And there were a few Reddit threads over at Square Circle, had a lot of people reacting to it. And what do you expect? Danielson watched AEW and it reawakened the American Dragon inside him. Which, if we're being honest, it helped him out because eventually Bryan left WWE and went to AEW in 2021. So whatever intelligence WWE gathered from the phone call, whatever Vince learned, it wasn't enough to keep one of the best wrestlers in his company. Daniel Bryan, you made Daniel Bryan watch it and he pretty much got interested. Yeah, it was during the Dark and Elevation time frame. That is correct. Now, I saved the wildest angle for last because what I'm about to tell you is not really confirmed per se, but I want to hear you to hear it and let me know if this sounds a bit crazy. September 2024, Vince Russo floats a theory. He theorizes that Shane McMahon was sent by his father, Vince, to get close to Tony Khan. Not just friendly, obviously, but basically get intelligence about AEW. At the time when that happened, he was saying the AEW television deal situation that was happening with AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery. According to Cage Side Seats and Pro Wrestling, Russo's argument was, why else would Shane, who had no obvious business reason to be orbiting AEW's world, suddenly be spending time around Tony Khan's circles? Now, like I said before, and I want to make sure you get this very clear, right now, that is a theory, and it's Russo's word, so it's unconfirmed. He's probably going to say it's facts, but sometimes he is off. Much respect to him, though. But in context, we all know WWE has a dedicated staff watching AEW. We know Vince personally called Daniel Bryan for competitive intel. We know talent leak information from AEW back at AEW Dark in 2020. Does the theory about Shane McMahon being used as a corporate intelligence asset sound that wild anymore? And by the way, the kicker of all this, the obsession with information control goes both ways. According to Ringside, in January 2026, Nick Aldis revealed how WWE used what they literally describe as spy-level tactics to prevent their own internal leaks. And this is real, because a former WWE producer was reported wearing disguises at AEW shows in 2022. Sounds familiar? Because I feel WCW did the same back at the Monday Night Wars, and probably WWE did it vice versa. It's all coming back. History is repeating itself. The question is who's going to be the competition that loses at this point if this continues? No longer a conspiracy theory. It's just corporate intelligence and wrestling boots at this point, trying to one-up each other. Here's what I actually think is going on, and I want you to sit with this. WWE publicly calls AEW irrelevant. Every promo, every press conference, every time a WWE guy gets asked about the competition, the answer is the same. We don't think about them. But they're paying people, as we speak, to think about them, with action figures on the desk as a reminder of what their job is. Don't call that irrelevance, guys. It's obsession, obviously. And honestly, that might be a compliment to Tony Khan because you don't run a dedicated analytics operation on something that doesn't move the needle. You don't call your top talent and ask them to spy on competition unless that competition is doing something that scares you. Now, fair counterpoint, does Tony Khan have someone watching Raw and SmackDown every week? Of course. That's just smart business at this point. Every competent organization studies their competition. The difference is WWE has confirmed it out loud on record via WrestleBoats, corroborated by Fightful Selects, and the IWC now knows. Secret's out. The bigger question for me, and I want to hear from you on this, what has WWE actually done with all that intel? Because if you've been studying the competition for 6+ years, I guess at this point, if you have action figures on your desk and analysts filing weekly reports, and AEW is still pulling the numbers they pull, what exactly is the intelligence behind you? So here's where we're going to finish this off. WWE has been running intelligence on AEW since at least 2020 at this point. It started with talent leaks. It escalated to Vince personally calling Daniel Bryan. It evolved into Shane McMahon allegedly smooching friendship with Tony Khan. And now in 2026, it's a fully funded analytic department with AEW merchandise on the desk for reference. No longer a rumor, documented, source, stamped on the internet for life. The question is whether WWE is watching AEW anymore. The question is, why does WWE keep telling people they don't care while paying people to care? That's the tea. Let me know in the comments. Do you think this is smart business strategy, or is it proof that WWE is more threatened by AEW than they'll ever admit? And if you were running WWE's intelligence operation, what would you be telling Triple H to fix? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next video.